Welcome to the Value of Recruitment podcast with me, John Brooks. Sponsored by Atlas, the recruitment platform helping you become an AI-powered recruiter. This week, I'm joined by Jacob Stripling, founder at Future State Careers, who help companies hire better, and Whole Story, helping great candidates stand out. Jacob shares how he is constantly adding value for his clients and candidates, and his motivations for going above and beyond. We talk about the difficult balance between letting people know how good you are versus quietly doing great work without needing credit for it. We also explore the difficulty of knowing when to charge a premium for higher level services and what recruiters value from their clients beyond just fees. Enjoy the show. I hope you find it valuable. Jacob, thanks for joining us.
Happy to be here. Thank you for the invite.
No, really pleased you're here. Cool. So we're going to kick off with the big question. In your eyes, how valuable is recruitment?
I don't think that there's anything bigger, and not because I'm biased in it, but I mean, everyone that you know, especially the executives and the C-level people that you talk to, it's like you get the right people in the room and things just happen. Like that's internally at our company. We talk all the time where the other day we run on EOS and we were talking about our 10-year plan with our implementer. And I was like, of course we have these plans and we have things we're trying to do, but I was like, the team that we have, I don't care if we're doing this or if we're doing HVAC installation or if we're doing it doesn't matter because I think the right people are everything. So I think it's the only thing. I think without it, everything else falls apart.
Yeah, I'm going to call you on that. I think you might be slightly biased, but you're right. Other CEOs who aren't in recruitment. I read about a CEO of WordPress was saying, he spends a third of his time hiring.
Mm-hmm.
And you just think, you're running a massive business. I mean, WordPress pretty much underpins the internet as we know it. How does he divvy up his time? It's like, a third of his time is on that.
Well, and I think too, even getting so deep into just the philosophical realm of what is this all even about? For most companies, it's like, okay, let's say that of course, if you're providing jobs and making a lot of money and that's helping a lot of people and you're giving a valuable service, but the people that you talk to who are the most happy at their job just love the people they work with. I mean, of course, they typically are passionate about the product they're making or the service they're delivering, but the people being around is like, you feel like it's not even work. And so that's where I think too, it's like, when you can say that about where you work based on who is a part of it, that's tough to beat.
Yeah.
Getting those right people or.
Yeah, I love that. I also just came off listening to a podcast of a sports coach and he was saying, you get the right people. This was for an international team. So you put the right people in there. And then his advice was just make a decision and then go with that decision and make it work. Mm-hmm. If you've got a good person in the role, no matter what the decision or the direction you go in, that person can make it work and make it happen.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's all the time. It's funny. I also and you see leaders, I like and prefer the sign of respect to be like, look, it's never here's what we're going to do, whether you like it or not. It's always as much of a consensus as we can come to, but you're right in that it almost feels like when you've got the right people, it doesn't even, it's like, we could pick this or this. All that we're doing is just figuring out if that's the right way. And then we pivot because we've got the right people, whether we're right or wrong, we'll be okay. We'll either hit it right the first time or we'll learn and get it right the second, third, or fourth time. So I agree. I love that.
Exactly. And we don't want to be too negative, but you have the wrong person. You've got to spoon feed them. You've got to handhold them through it. And then, they make a decision and then it doesn't go right. And
right.
That's where the pain comes in.
And sometimes with that, it doesn't even matter what the decision is because it's not going to go right regardless. I mean, it's just, so I agree on that though.
Yeah, true. Yeah. I mean, there are plenty of companies, you see competitors in many industries and two companies try the same strategy.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And one succeeds and one doesn't. And you're like, what was the difference?
I mean, that's what I was talking to an investor not long ago, and they were telling me about every time somebody tries to approach them with an NDA And he's like, I'm so bored with NDAs because none of you are going to do anything anyways. So I don't, if you need me to sign an NDA, just go do it. Cause he says so many of these conversations that he has, they sign an NDA and they talk through all these things. And 6 weeks later, he looks up and he's like, so where is this idea? Like and so, yeah, it's just the execution is everything. I mean, I even know, thinking about a lot of things we've done internally, there's so many ideas that even when you take it to market, it's met with just overwhelmingly positive feedback. But the execution, it's like, it doesn't matter if the execution isn't there, or, yeah. So I think that's everything.
Yeah. Awesome. So yeah, we agree. Recruitment's pretty
Yeah.
important here.
Yeah.
So now there is a lot of recruitment. There are a lot of recruitment agencies. So how do you stand out? How do you do things differently from the tens and hundreds of thousands of other agencies that are out there?
Right. I mean, as recruiters, we are a commodity, it is a commodity service, but for us, I know, we've always talked from the time that I started this, and you look around and you start, especially in recruiting as an agency, because you get to see across the board all these different companies and how they operate and really see the bones of the operation. And so I knew early on that as long as we held ourselves to a certain standard, we're going to be fine. Even, I mean, as you know, in the workplace overall, now this is definitely a blanket statement, but I found it to be true that the bar is not very high. And the ones who rise to meet that bar, once you get to that level, that is like, it's like, to beat whatever percent of the general market is not too tough. But then you get to the top level and now it becomes insanely tough, where it's
Yeah.
how are you guys different? Well, everyone at this level works harder than all the competition. Everyone at this level cares about their customers. Everyone at this level is trying to bring innovative solutions to their customers. Like, it's just all of those things, the integrity, the hard work, the we care, the relationships over transactions, like that's everyone. And so the only things that we see over time is, I think you see it a lot these days where it's a lot of free value. I think the free value is a big indicator of what is that value. If it's something that you just threw together and gave it to the client and it's okay, but it's not really moving the needle, then but I think you're seeing it today. I mean, for example, I'm a fan of Alex Hormozy and the stuff that he puts out. And you go on his website and all of his books are free. And it's like that's hard to beat. And so you look at something like that and you say, if we're, for example, our model is kind of like, we do business well so that we can make the money so that we can invest all of that into tools and R&D and then be able to bring that to our clients for free and continue to just give them elevated service. And so we're not bringing them these products that we took and then saying, hey, we want you to pay a premium now or pay extra for these things, even though maybe we should. But the point being that we want to differentiate in that we're always trying to think aggressively, innovate. We always want to be pushing the envelope. And then we want to bring that to you without strings attached. And so for us, or even companies that we watch do that, that seems to be a major differentiator. When you're able to
Yeah.
bring those things and new services and new products and things like that, and you say, okay, how much is this going to cost us? And you say, well, actually, it's just part of who we are. It's a part of our service offering. And it's like, oh, okay. I think that's a
Yeah.
huge one. What about you? What do you see?
Well, it's interesting. You mentioned, on that long list of like almost table stakes stuff that, any good recruiter, one of the things is we care. Yeah. And everyone says that. There's no recruitment website that says we don't care.
Yeah.
So, that is a baseline there. But what you're doing, the way you describe it is you're saying, hang on, I'm doing all these things for you.
Mhm.
You're showing, you're proving that you
Mhm.
want your clients to win. So you're saying, hang on, firstly, you're showing how passionate you are about some of these ideas,
Mhm.
and that things can be done differently. And then you're bringing it to them. You asked what I think. I always get twitchy when things are free. I don't like that word.
Yeah, I know that.
With my from my background.
Yeah.
But no, it's super powerful. I mean, it's all about why are you doing the thing? If
Right.
strategically you're offering that, and you described that circle just then. If that's what drives you winning premium business and repeat
Mhm.
business from the clients you want, then
Mhm.
that's working.
Mhm.
there's always a danger of, I have quite a few agencies come to me and say, we give away a lot of our value. So I think, I don't know whether you've ever thought that, but I've had people say, hang on, it feels like we go above and beyond. We're offering way more than, let's say, the industry standard, compared to our competitors. But their problem is they're usually not getting paid anymore. So they're still perceived as a commodity. They're
Right.
seen as average, even though in their minds, they're going above and beyond and they're creating all this value.
Right. I mean, that makes sense. And what you said totally makes sense. And of course, it's not like, hey, here's this free thing and we don't expect anything, like no greater allegiance, no more repeat business. Like, of course, what we're trying to do is ingrain ourselves into your business in a way that you couldn't possibly imagine using somebody else, because no one else would do all of these things for you, which of course, results in repeat business that hopefully goes for years and years, referrals, spin-offs. So of course, these services and products and whatever innovations that we're building do result in, you know, hopefully a pretty great return. But even if it didn't, I mean, I think for us, we want people to know that we're pushing the envelope on all these things, and partially just because we like it. Like we would do it even if it wasn't a part of our business, we'd still be trying to push forward and move. And so I think for us, it doesn't take a return to incentivize us to do it, which helps. For us, I think if you're doing it only out of what are we going to get back for this, then yeah, it could make it tougher. But I know personally, I mean, I'm sure there's a balance, and this is only my personal experience. But for example, we launched a thing called Whole Story, which was a platform built for job seekers and now being built for companies. But at the beginning, I received a lot of different feedback on pricing. As you know, pricing is really tricky and it's hard to get right.
Yep.
And most of the people that were advocating to put it at a much higher price point were not necessarily doing it strategically as much as just seeing dollar signs and saying this is an opportunity for a big cash grab. And I never wanted it to be that. And what I've found was, like, as I let some of those things seep in, like, it actually made it less effective. Because I mean, again, it's like you said, it's what's the message behind, like, what's the motivation for these things? Like, if the motivation is off, and so that for us, I know this is a little long-winded and I'm getting kind of off track, but in thinking about giving away the value, like, I don't know, it to me almost goes all the way to the core of who we are. And it's like, we want to give you this because it selfishly makes us happy. It makes us happy to watch your mind be blown when we bring you this new solution that you didn't even think was possible. Like, it just feels good. It's like some people that who are like, maybe if they're in philanthropy or whatever, and it's like, what's in this for you? And it's like, sometimes it just makes people feel good, and that's a good life.
Yeah.
So I don't know. There's a lot of aspects to it.
Yeah. And again, if I come back to, how are you standing out? How are you perceived in your clients' minds? Then they say, well, you guys are really, as you say, you're pushing the envelope, you're doing good things. I always think it's important, with kind of, let's put it under the bracket of philanthropy. It's useful if you're doing something that you're an expert in. Yeah, if you're just
Hmm.
saying, oh, we're just giving some money away, or
Right.
on the side, I do this and it's incredibly unrelated, then again, it's hard to understand the why.
Hmm.
Whereas, as we are all people,
Hmm.
if you have the ability to say, hang on, I can help these people. And I mean, we haven't gone into the detail of what Whole Story is, but it's helping candidates express who they are better, right?
Hmm. Yeah.
Um, so obviously there is a win there as well, and they may
Course.
use that beyond working with you. They may go directly to a
Sure,
client. They may use another agency,
sure.
but chances are they're going to work with you, or you're going to pick off the good candidates there, and they're going to be good at communicating
Mhm.
that they're right for these roles.
What the idea of Whole Story was born out of was that it's hard to talk to people who are great and who you sit across from, and they're telling you about how they've applied to 200, 300 or more jobs, and they've only had a 2 or 3 interviews, and they've just got a resume that looks just like everybody else's, and they're saying, "Will you just give me 30 seconds to tell you something about myself?" And so we just like those are hard to sit across from, like,
Yeah.
and I mean, as recruiters, we only have the positions that we have. And so if we don't have a role, if our niche is accounting and finance or sales or technology, and you're doing something in the whatever sector, we're probably never going to have anything that would align and be able to help you out. But what we can give you is this resource that you can take and use however you want to. Whether they use it with us or a competitor or for themselves to go straight to the customer is irrelevant to us. It was like the heart was just like, it's hard to see those people feel like they have no advocate. And so it's like, well, here, advocate for yourself, lead with who you are and not the paper. And then, but that definitely could happen.
Yeah. And I mean, recruitment as an industry, I think we get tarred with the brush of we're transactional or we don't care. And especially a lot of candidates have negative experiences. I
Hmm.
mean, in a competition for jobs, not all of them win, not all of them get the
Hmm.
jobs, sure.
Hmm.
But also, yeah, if they feel let down or that horrible phrase ghosted by
Hmm.
an agency once they're not relevant, that makes it a worse environment for all of us.
Hmm.
Yeah, if you can be the one uh yeah, giving them care and giving them attention, um, that then creates potential advocates. I think most recruiters would agree that jobs and clients can come from anywhere.
Hmm.
You
Hmm.
help this kid, and their dad comes back to them and says, "Oh, by the way, I need to hire a new team. Can
Sure.
you help my kid out?" And you're like,
Yeah.
"Hey," and you don't, as you say, I don't think many recruiters do that with an ROI measure on.
Hmm.
But if you make the world a better place, there are chances to come back to you. Nice. I like, yeah, we're picking up a picture of you, yeah, but you're driven with kind of innovation. You want to bring new things to your clients. So give us some more examples of things you've created or built for your clients or candidates, and maybe some things that haven't worked and what you've done with them or
Yeah.
how
Yeah.
you've gone beyond that.
Yeah, I mean, there's whole story's been an interesting one because it's been on a pretty large scale from coast to coast in the States. And but there've been a lot of lessons we've learned from that. For example, like one of the things that we wanted to do with that was, and to give context of what Whole Story is, it's like a video-based platform that just gives far more context than a resume does. It's not rocket science. This wasn't some platform that you could have never thought of. Like we just wanted to give people a place where there's an about me, there's a video, there's references, and with references, we know what references are. People are just going to get whoever liked them. Who's going to send a bad reference? But
Yeah,
so we got in front of that and we're like, look, a reference could be a spouse or a parent or a friend or an employee or an employer or your kid or your coach, or your teacher. It's just, we want to know what people say about you. And then there's an aspect of video with that as well, where somebody can send a video reference to carry a little more weight. There's also a key moments portion of the whole story where, like, say if you took off for 3 years to take care of your mom or dad, somebody was sick. And so you have this big gap on your resume that you can't explain for, but well, now we've got that place. Or like, even if you just want to give context to, in this year, this big thing happened, or in this year, I got laid off, which caused me to take a total detour and go over here. So it's that. And then you've got your resume at the bottom because we want people to be viewed through who they are by the time you get to the resume, as opposed to, let me look at your experience and maybe I'll never even get to who you are as a person. So, and then you've got all your socials on there. Everything is totally optional. You can make it exactly what you want. It's all about being for the candidate. And then you get a link that's yours. But I say that just to give context around what it is. One of the really interesting things with it has been that we thought people are so tired of being boxed in to these like subcategories of who people are in their career as a candidate. And so we wanted to make sure that there was minimal prompts, minimal guidance on what to say or how to say it or what to do. And what we've found actually from a lot of feedback over hundreds of people that have used it, it seems that the more autonomy we have, it actually creates more paralysis, and giving some form of structure or guardrails or something actually allows for more creativity, which was something I didn't expect. For example, like if you just showed me a white screen and I'm wanting to create our website and I'm having to start from there, I'm like, yikes, this is okay. We have so much that it could be, as opposed to a designer brings me, a template, and now I'm making tweaks. So we're building some stuff with Whole Story around that. We're trying to make sure right now the balance is everything is AI. And with Whole Story, we were trying to go up current with that to say, like, look, this is all about you, and we're not using a ton of AI in this. Of course, we used a ton like in building it and things like that. But there have been some interesting things there. Like, for example, some of the things that we're doing right now, like take resumes. We don't want to even deal with resumes anymore. Like, we don't want to take them.
Yeah.
We don't want to send resumes to companies. We just want to be done with them altogether. Because as we know, especially at the scale that we all deal with, a resume it just doesn't suffice for giving me a picture of who you are. And so things that we're trying to build right now is our own proprietary recruiter intelligence system, where every conversation that we've had, and there's very buttoned up privacy and there's no identifiable, things from these conversations when we're using it. But everyone that is put into our database, from the transcripts, from the conversations we have, from the tone they used, from the things they said were important to them, as opposed to us just going into Luxo or Recruit CRM or any of the databases people use, creating our own database with all of those things, and we're able to pull from those conversations so nobody ever falls through the cracks. So we're not doing a Boolean search or an advanced AI search or an agentic, like, give me software developers, on the East Coast looking for this pay. We're able to take a conversation that we had in great detail. Maybe it's an hour-long conversation with a company, and we're able to go and pull from that database, not just from the criteria, but from the actual transcripts. So we're able to match people that we think, based off of all the points that we have, the data points that it pulls from. It's a much faster system. It's a much more accurate system. It makes sure that, because I mean, recruiters, it is easy for people to fall through the cracks when you're talking to as many people as we are. And
Yeah.
so something like that, we're building that. We're building a system where the way that we submit candidates is different, and it's pulling again from all of those key points about somebody. Where, if I'm a hiring manager and I say, why would this person want or not want this job? Well, now you have all of these data points and key points, as opposed to just our notes from a call. And the pay matches up. They said they want a good culture and they haven't job hopped, so they're a good candidate. Be like, well, we know there's way more that goes into it. So what we're seeing from that and what we project is much better retention rates, much fewer interviews, theoretically fewer interviews even in the process, to be like, look, by the time you have your first interview with somebody, you've got a really clear picture on who they are and how they match. So you're starting from a place of already knowing them, as opposed to starting from discovery. Like, tell me about yourself. It's like, well, we already know a lot about you. Now we want to see if this is actually a fit, as opposed to, let's do the first call with HR, kind of tell you about our culture. And then from there, what we're going to do is we're going to have you come and meet with us, and we're going to see if we mesh. Then we're going to have a more technical conversation. Like, why are we spending all that time doing all that when we already took a lot of time to get really deep with this candidate? Same thing with the company. So there's a lot of things that we're trying to do with that. I think that recruiting companies have always been one of the biggest offenders when it comes to having really valuable data all over the place and us not utilizing it correctly. So those are
Yeah.
just a couple of the things that we're working through.
I like that. I think, the phrase that just comes to mind is just the richness.
Mm-hmm.
The problem with a CV is, they all seem the same. And I like what you said about great candidates find it the hardest of all to stand out on a page. And actually, that's not dissimilar to what I help recruitment agencies with.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone's using the similar language in terms of resumes. Everyone's trying to stick to 2 or 3 pages, and they're kind of hemmed in by almost having to look the same, having to use the same format, and they can't get that richness across.
Mm-hmm.
So I really like that. You said I heard you talking to Benjamin Menner on his podcast, about how you get the richness of information from the client.
Mm-hmm.
So just talk us through that, because for me, that really stands out and illustrates a point that I
Yeah.
want to talk about as well.
I mean, this is one if you've been in recruiting for any amount of time, and when you ask, it's the same way if somebody asked me to tell them a little about myself, like I'd probably say things like, I love finding out new ways to do things. I love my family. I love I'm not one for excuses. We want to, but those are probably going to be, and we've seen it through Whole Story, again, once you get to a certain level, kind of everybody has very similar high level things. Well, the same is true for these companies that will go and talk to them and say, look, if somebody is getting an offer for $20,000 more than you can offer, then your budget will allow, and there's no way you could make that happen. What are you going to tell them to get them to stay here or to come choose you? And a lot of the answers that we get, people don't know because they're not a recruiter going and having 50 conversations in a month with companies across the country, that their answers are very similar to all the other ones that we're hearing. And so they're very similar to a candidate. So when a company says we're like a family and we like to joke around with each other and, we don't take ourselves too seriously. We work hard, but we play hard, and we have happy hours, and we do, these parties and whatever. But you're like, yeah, those things are all good. In no way am I saying that those things sound great, but those things in themselves don't differentiate you almost at all. And also, talk is cheap. So the example that I like to give, like on Ben's podcast, we were talking about a tiered system, but it's like, think of that as the tier one. Like, we treat people like, or, we're a family here, whatever, or a team. The semantics don't matter. But then you continue to go down the line to, for example, I was sitting in a boardroom with a client of ours, and not a huge company, maybe 3,500 employees. And when I asked them this question across their C-level, it was like it didn't even register what I was asking, because the way they operate every day was like, these things they're doing for their employees don't even stand out because it's core to who they are. And I'm
Yeah.
sitting there watching it, and I'm like, oh, you guys have no idea what you even have here. And so this is them. For example, there's a story that I like to tell where there was an employee of theirs who was showing up to work with a flat tire, like over the course of several days. Like, it just kept showing up low. The team just immediately, quietly, didn't tell the person, went and put 4 new tires on their car while they were at work, and they just walk out to that thing. No, nobody needed credit. They didn't post it on their social media. They didn't do a big like, hey guys, look what we're doing. It was just the way they operate. And when they told me that story in a way that wasn't, it was like they weren't even sure if that story was what I was talking about. And I was like, this is the lower tier of, we're a family because if your kid's sick, I'll let you off early to take him to the doctor, versus we had someone coming in with a flat tire and we took up a silent collection on the team and put 4 new tires on their car without ever looking for credit. Those are 2 very, very different stories. And so with them, when we talk to those companies, it's the type of place that you think like, I'd send my family to you. And the work, it's kind of like what we talked about at the beginning, where people are everything. That type of thing allows people to be far less strict on what they expect from their actual, like what they're going to be doing in those things, because that carries so much weight that they get a lot more flexible on like, okay, I could see doing that, because if I'm supported like that here, that is a different. So in differentiating, I feel it's true for recruiting companies, and what I think is really hard about these things, especially for a company like I'm referring to, is I think they do it from such a true sense of who they are that nobody ever finds out about it, because to them it feels gross to advertise it, which is the trickiest balance. We talk about it all the time internally, where it's like, well, as soon as we tell people that we did this nice thing, now it doesn't feel so nice. Now it feels, it feels motivated by, I don't know, us letting people in. And that's a hard thing in business. But to answer your question about the differentiation, like that, the 2 things between, hey, we're adults here, you can take off early if you need to go do your thing, or the tire story, are just, when you hear it, it's so obvious.
Everyone is talking about AI-powered recruiters, but what does that actually look like? With Atlas as your CRM, it means every interaction with your candidate is automatically captured and searchable. If they mention their salary in an email, it's instantly recorded, without you having to write anything. And behind the scenes, Atlas discovers every company that a candidate has worked for, the industries those companies operate in, as well as things like company size and description. All this means you can do your job much faster and add more value to your clients. To learn more about Atlas, go to recruitwithatlas.com. To bring it back to recruitment, it is very much like every recruitment agency website saying, hey, we're different, or we're consultative. And I think you said earlier, words are cheap, but actually, if we go down those tiers, as you described it, how are you consultative? All right, your example you've just given us is you sit down with people who are so nice they don't know they're nice.
Yeah.
You took the time to get down to that point, and then you helped them reflect and help them understand that they had something to offer beyond a salary and a job, right? I think it's another good point that that's kind of come out of all of this is we have the overview. We have the ability to see people in context, people and companies in context. So for example, the resumes or the people behind the resumes, they don't know how much better they are. So we can give them that platform. And again, firms don't know that not everyone is that nice, or that they're offering something that others don't or can't.
Right.
So it's really powerful for us. Yeah, I don't know quite how we put that into words, but yeah, we can hold a mirror up and then say, well, this is actually what you look, and also this is what everyone around you looks like as well.
Yeah. I mean, even like there's an internal example that we were talking about yesterday, and one of our guys was talking about how he had started talking with the candidate a while back, and we didn't have roles for him, and he kept up with them, and he was kind of having like weekly coaching calls, just, for just trying to help. And the person landed a job, and he was talking about how excited he was for that person. The job wasn't through us. And it's like that when I see that, and I'm not going to go, I guess I'm telling you here on this, but like, we're not going to go post this thing. It's like, that's just a really not, and you see those things. And so even when I see it's good to be introspective. Like, and I know it's hard. It's really challenging in recruiting, or even as a company, to say, look, like, our time is valuable. And so when you're giving things like your time for free, it is hard not to look back and be like, can I afford to give this time or this advice or this money or this help or whatever it is? And I think that's where it just goes to, again, like the company, because it does feel, one of the questions that we ask the lower you get in finding out who someone is or a company is like, what's the cost of the sacrifice that you're making to provide this thing? Is it money? Is it time? Is it expertise? Is it that you're giving something that could potentially be stolen as an idea and used for somebody else because you're just trying to help them in the moment? But, for example, with the tire, it was money, it was inconvenience, it was time, putting all those things together. And then for my teammate, my partner, for him, it was, look, it's all this time. And like, nobody is ever going to know that he did that. And like the way that I saw him light up when that person got the job was just as excited, if not more, than you see when we place somebody. And so it's like you said, I don't know, call it whatever you want, karma or whatever, but those things do seem to come back around. It's just a good, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's just good vibes.
Yeah. But you've got to run a business off it as well. Like,
no doubt. That's the challenge. Yeah.
I think just on that example, you're right. I think we've all probably seen posts on LinkedIn where someone then shares that they've done that, which completely breaks the spell.
Yeah, it does. It's hard.
So it's like, wow, you were so kind, and now you've boasted about it.
Yeah, that's so hard though. And
yeah,
that's so hard. It is so hard.
Well, it helps that it's like selling stuff. I mean, a lot of recruiters have problems selling themselves. So an individual consultant saying, I'm great.
Right.
But if you ask a consultant, tell me about your teammate who sit next to you.
Right.
They're like, they're amazing. This is how they've gone above and beyond. So again, you're able to talk about your partner.
Right.
I assume it was your partner. I assume it wasn't you just being incredibly humble in there. It was
Yeah, I hear
actually
you.
you who did it.
No, no, and it's funny you say that because that was one of the other things we found with Whole Story and why we did the reference section for the videos, and we even thought about potentially doing the thing is that the video for the person kind of qualifies them in or out for a lot of companies, wanting to see how somebody talks,
Yeah.
but we thought we were like, man, we're running into this same because we know that to be true. Like I said, for me to say that about him, I say it and I'm excited to say it. I'm like, oh, I want to brag on him because he's like, he never would.
Yeah.
And the same thing with the whole stories. And I think recruiting in general, sometimes it's like, hey, if I could hear 6 people talk about you, I don't even need to hear what you think about yourself because I just got the true picture. Like there's an aspect of that where, in ideas of being like, what is the best way for us to hire? What is the best way for us to qualify in or out? Is it that, or is it for us to take, hey, I want, like, for example, one of the best whole stories that we've seen was somebody who had like an influential person they knew from the community, their preacher from church, their pastor from church, whatever, an employee of theirs. So they had such a spectrum of different facets of their life. So by the time you listen to what all 3 of those people said, you got 3 different versions that all made this one core person. And so, like you said, I think there's a lot of that ties into recruiting to say, like, is there a better way to do some of these things than even for us to get it straight from you? I don't know. I don't know. I know that's why we did
Yeah.
references, but the reference system is broken.
Yeah.
The way that
Yeah.
typically used.
I just think about my own behavior when I look at, a recruitment leader, who I'm either interested in or they've contacted me and I'm like, "Oh, I want to find out more about them before I talk to them."
Mm-hmm.
I'll look on LinkedIn. I have some issues with LinkedIn recommendations, but
Mm-hmm.
they provide a little bit of that picture.
Mm-hmm.
And you look down and sometimes it's like, oh yeah, there's 2 references from 2 candidates
Mm-hmm.
back in 2014.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, yeah, it's not a perfect system, but it's like, if I could see 5 clients and how they've
Yeah.
worked with you, over the years,
Yeah.
yeah, and maybe and some candidates as well. I want to see that
Right.
that gives you that picture.
Right.
But yeah, we miss out on that.
Mm-hmm.
Again, it's not always easy to ask, but it is
Yeah.
valuable.
Right.
I was saying earlier, you hold a mirror up to your clients and say, look, you may not know you do this, but you're doing something that others aren't. You stand out. I'm going to play that back on you. I'm going to say you're more innovative than most recruitment agencies.
Thank you. I appreciate
And
that.
I actually don't know what fees you charge, but I'm interested, like, do you charge a premium? And if you don't, how do you feel about agencies who are, charging a similar amount to you,
Sure.
who aren't going the extra mile or the extra 3 miles as you
Right.
are?
Yeah. It's a good question. I mean, do I think we're charging a premium? No, not proportional to what we're delivering. But the way that we think about it, and it's probably flawed, it's probably naive, but everything to us is just what's the signal that we're getting back from the company. So like we could charge, you know, 30 to 40% fees all day. And if we're working with people who aren't coming back or are just, not treating us as a partner or any of these things. And so in our, like, for example, we have a retained fee basis. And everyone that we're retained with, it's almost like as soon as they choose that route, everything else is almost assumed. Like you see the value in us, you're going to meet us in the middle on this. This isn't going to be us dragging you up a hill because you're uncertain if you want to do this. Like so could we charge more? Yes. Should we? Probably. Will we? Maybe. I don't know. But for us, like because we've even had customers before say like, hey, is this fee enough? And what we tell them is we're like, look, as long as you're here and you meet us in the middle, like that becomes almost within reason irrelevant. Because what it ends up being when they're doing that is like, oh, our actual take home by the time that we've been doing business with you for several years is far greater than 1 or 2 large fees might have been if we came in and, helped you fill a couple roles. So again, I know there's probably a lot of flawed logic in that, but that is the way that we kind of think about when when we come in at a price that might be a little lower.
Yeah. And yeah, I can give you all the pricing theory in the world and best practice and whatever else, but yeah, the joy of running your own business is you decide, and it's
Sure.
not just pricing; it's product development. It's how you work with candidates, it's how you work with clients, what KPIs you have, how strict or how tough they are.
Hmm.
All of those things. It's all up to you.
Hmm.
Um, I think I work with a lot of the agencies I work with, their leaders say, "Look, we feel undervalued," and I'm not getting that from you.
Hmm.
Yeah, I was slightly kind of asking the question I just asked to kind of probe and prompt you to see. But yeah, you're clearly happy where you are. I mean, there is a huge flag if your clients are saying, "Hang on, shouldn't we be paying more?"
Yeah. No, I mean, and the hard thing is, I mean, you're the expert on the matter, but it's like I know, like we know clients who choose which recruiter they go with based off of who has the higher fee, like the associated premium level service. It's kind of like, look, I could sell you two pairs of shoes. It's almost the same shoe. I mean, it's like cliche examples, but it's like, I don't know if I want that one that's $50 less than that. It makes me think it's not as good. Be like, no, we use the same. We just wanted to price it fair. And they're like, I'll go with the more expensive one.
Yeah, yeah.
It's such an interesting the actual logic behind it. So you're right. You're right that yeah, it probably is a giant red flag if we've been asked are the fees high enough? Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I am a cheerleader for not high prices, but yeah, the right prices, but
Yeah.
getting
Sure.
paid for the value you're creating.
Sure.
And I think you are creating a lot of value. But price is challenging. Yeah, there are some clients who are put off by price. There are also clients who love working with a great recruiter
Hmm.
and work with them a lot. And then those fees stack up. And then the CFO comes in and goes, "Sorry, why have
Yeah.
we just given Jacob
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
amount?" It's like, "Oh, because
Yeah.
he's really good." He's like, "Yeah,
Yeah.
but is he really good and worth $250,000 in fees last year?" Which, yeah, I believe we are. Yeah, good recruiters are. Yeah, it's important to take a holistic view on it.
Hmm. Yeah. I agree.
Awesome. Well, I really appreciate you sharing how you see creating all this innovation, going the extra mile for your clients. I appreciate me giving you a bit of a dig at the end about how
Yeah.
you price and making you think. Any final thoughts? Any kind of final message you would give people who are listening based on your experience and what you've seen?
Man, I think right now and this is its entire own conversation, but the things that we're seeing come out, the tools that we're using, the platforms that we're seeing be created, I think the next 6 months to 2 years are going to be so black and white different from where we are right now that for most people, if you think we're not there yet, we're a lot closer than you think. And I just hope that people are aware or at least looking into that. I'm not advocating that somebody, lose sleep and just, have a panic attack and go look at what's being created. But I think there are a lot of people that we're hearing from who think we're still 10 to 15 years away from where we are today. And I think that that's a scary place to be if when you find that out is the time that you're looking for a new job and you're trying to retroactively create that, value that right now if you could just start looking into those things. So I think that's really important. That is the one piece of advice that we're giving everybody is like don't bury your head in the sand on this stuff. And I know you might not like it, but a lot of it is what it is. And so I think
Yeah,
that's a major piece.
no, it's good advice. And yeah, I mean, it's almost, I was going to say we could come back in 2 years, but
Yeah.
it feels like we could come back a lot sooner than that, and so
Hmm.
much will have changed. I think the to avoid the kind of panic attack response, think of my advice on this is think of what you have always wanted to do, and it is probably so much easier to do it. So all those things, yeah, if only I could do this, or if only this worked better for me. It's like it probably can, or pretty soon there's
Yeah.
probably a way you could make that happen, which
Well,
is
yeah,
exciting.
the thing that we say now, I mean, it's not if it's not only us saying it, but it's the one of the only barriers now is just your imagination. Like, can you think of it and then go get it? Like the excuse of we don't have the budget or we don't have the head count or I don't have the expertise is gone. And so I think that's a cool place to be if you receive it right, you know?
Yeah. Well, we'll come back in 2 years because I want to hear where your imagination is going
Yeah.
next,
Yeah.
because
Oh,
you've
yeah.
already gone a long way.
Yeah.
Awesome. Jacob, thank you again. It's been a
Thank
real
you for having
pleasure.
me. Yeah, thank you.
Thanks again to Jacob for sharing his insights and approach. 3 things stood out for me. First, his enthusiasm for always pushing the envelope for clients and candidates without needing to know what the payoff will be. Second, Jacob's approach to helping great clients and candidates tell their stories better and stand out from the crowd, whether they're job hunting or trying to attract candidates. And third, how he described the impact of having the right people in a business who can execute on any idea. If you found the show valuable, please leave a review and remember to subscribe or follow the show on your podcast app. You can also get more insights and inspiration by signing up to my added value emails on Substack. You can find the link in the show notes. Now, go create some value. Thank you to Atlas for sponsoring the Value of Recruitment podcast. To learn more about how Atlas is creating an AI platform that helps recruitment agencies generate more placements with less effort, visit recruitwithatlas.com.